Tanga Kun from SECI 2143 Section 10 of Probability and Statistical Data Analysis. I'm here to present my project 2 with the title PIMA Indian Diabetes. First is the introduction and background of project 2. This dataset is originally from the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Disease. The dataset is the secondary dataset from the internet, which is from the website below. The objective of the dataset is to diagnostically predict whether or not a patient has diabetes based on certain diagnostic measurements included in the dataset. Several constraints were placed on the selection of these instances from a larger database. In particular, all patients here are females, at least 21 years old, of PIMA Indian heritage, which is number of times pregnant, plasma glucose concentration, blood pressure, skin thickness, insulin, BMI, diabetes pedigree function, age, and also outcome. There are 5 statistical test analyses, which is hypothesis testing one sample, correlation, regression, goodness of fit, and also chi-square test of independence. All the data analysis and calculation is done by using RStudio. Next is result and data analysis. First is the hypothesis testing one sample. This test is to test whether the mean of the BMI values of the respondents are equal to 31.18 kg per meter squared. The null hypothesis is the mean is equal to 31.18 and the alternative hypothesis is the mean is not equal to 31.18. The significance level used is 0.05 and the below one is the formula to calculate the test statistic. This is the output of the test using R programming. So we get a t statistic value of 0.0020325 and the degree of freedom 99. So for the conclusion, at 0.05 significance level, the p-value of the test is 0.9984, which is more than the significance level alpha equal to 0.05. So we fail to reject the null hypothesis, and we can conclude that the mean BMI value of the respondents are equal to 31.18 kg per meter square with a p-value 0.9984. Second one is the correlation test. This test is to test whether there is linear relationship between BMI values and blood pressure. The null hypothesis is there is no linear correlation, and the alternative hypothesis is there is linear correlation exists. The significance level used is 0.05 and below is the formula to calculate the test statistic. This is the output of the test using R programming. So we get a test statistic value equal to 4.2502, degree of freedom 98, the correlation coefficient equal to 0.39. Graph of BMI value against the blood pressure. Since the correlation coefficient R is equal to 0.39, this dataset has a positive linear correlation, but the strength of the linear relationship is weak because the value is in between 0 and 0.5. Since this test is a two-test test, so we reject the null hypothesis if t is below negative 2.2764 or t is larger than 2.2764. So for the conclusion, the p-value of the test is 4.875 times 10 power negative 5, which is less than the significance level alpha equal to 0.05. Since the test statistic value t equal to 4.2502 is above 2.2764 and fall into critical region, we reject the null hypothesis. We can conclude that the BMI value and the blood pressure are significantly correlated with the correlation coefficient of 0.39 and p-value of 4.875 times 10 power negative 5. Third is the regression test. The test is to investigate the relationship between blood pressure and plasma glucose concentration. The null hypothesis is there is no linear correlation, and the alternative hypothesis is there linear correlation exists. The significance level used is 0.05, and below is the formula to calculate the test statistic. This is the output of the test using R programming. So we get a residual standard error of 21.36 on 98 degrees of freedom. This test is a two-tailed test, so we reject null hypothesis if t is below negative 2.2764 or t is greater than 2.2764. So for the conclusion, the p-value of the test is 0.008819, which is less than the significance level alpha, equal to 0.05. Since the test statistic value t is equal to 2.674 greater than 2.2764, we reject the null hypothesis. We can conclude that plasma glucose concentration and blood pressure are significantly correlated with p-value of 0.008819. This is the graph of blood pressure against the glucose concentration. The R-squared value is equal to 0.06793, show that 6.79% of the variation in blood pressure is explained by variation in glucose concentration. The null hypothesis is that total patients have diabetes for each range of ages is same, and the alternative hypothesis is at least one of the four proportions is different from the others. The significance level used is 0.05, and the below is the formula to calculate the test statistic. This is the table of the age and the observed outcome. The below one is the output of the test using R programming. We will reject the null hypothesis if the chi-square value is above 7.815. So for the conclusion, the p-value of the test is 0.7106, which is more than the significance level alpha equal to 0.05. Since the test statistic chi-square is equal to 1.3784 is below the critical value, so we fail to reject the null hypothesis. We can conclude that the total patients which have diabetes for each range of ages have the same proportions of getting diabetes. Is the chi-square test of independence. The test is to investigate if there is a relationship exists between number of times pregnant and outcome. The null hypothesis is the outcome is independent of number of times pregnant, and the alternative hypothesis is the outcome is not independent of number of times pregnant. The significance level used is 0.05, and below is the test statistic formula. This is the output of the test using R programming. We will reject the null hypothesis if the chi-square value is above 23.684. So for the conclusion, since the test statistic value chi-square is equal to 18.436, which is below the critical value, so we fail to reject the null hypothesis. There is sufficient evidence to support that the number of times pregnant and outcome are independent. This is the discussion. The hypothesis testing, one sample showed that the average BMI value are under obese category. One of the causes of the diabetes is because of obesity, so we can see that many respondents may face diabetes problem. The correlation test showed that BMI value and blood pressure can affect each other. This is because when a person has high BMI value, there is high percentage that a person will face obesity. Individuals with obesity have an increase in fatty tissue that increase their vascular resistance and in turn increase the work the heart has to do to pump blood throughout the body, which means has high blood pressure and can cause diabetes. The third test is aggregation show that the plasma glucose concentration and blood pressure are significantly correlated. The fourth test is goodness of fit test show that the risk of having diabetes are not affected by the age but affected by the daily life of the person, such as having high glucose food and don't exercise often. The last test is chi-square test of independence show that the diabetes are not affected by number of times pregnant. Conclusion. So from the date hypothesis test, which use to different data from dataset, we can see that diabetes are affected by most of the variables collected except the number of times pregnant and age. We can also see that the average of the BMI value collected from females which are at least 21 years old of Pima Indian heritage are under category obese, which means they might face the diabetes problem, as obesity is one of the main causes of the diabetes. Exercise often is the most effective way to reduce the chance of getting diabetes, as exercise can make your body more healthy and reduce the BMI value to category normal. In conclusion, the objective of this survey has been reached, which is to diagnostically predict whether or not a patient has diabetes, based on certain diagnostic measurements included in the dataset. This is all Project 2. Thank you.